one time I had to do a walk and talk with Dean Henderson, and I had looked at the script and I had missed this part. I would always flip through. They get the script. I go, okay, blah blah. Walter. Okay, and then I go through.
This has got to be 0 hour. No bunting.
I missed this one little scene where it was like Jack gets off Neal gets off the elevator.
The elevator.
And I meet him, and I walk with him down the thing, and I'm basically bringing him up to speed on the other SG teams on what planet they're on. I look at this thing before we shoot it, and I go, what scene is this? And they go, well, it's this scene. And I go, oh, I didn't realize that I was in that scene. I hadn't read it. And they give it to me, and I go, oh my God. And it was like a block of dialogue like this, that I was just like talking. It was just totally expositional, and it had about 6 planets in there, right? Like PX9, 742.
The planets had to have been a bear. Get them all straight.
David. So I see it, and I think to myself, so we have to rehearse it a bunch of times, because they wanted to know, because it was a walk and talk, they wanted to know where we were going to end up. So it said, let's just rehearse it a bunch of times. So instead of using that time to memorize all the planets, I just think to myself, well, I'm just giving them the update on whatever. So I just made them up. I just made up the planets, and I'd be like PX3, 742, they're back. SG2 is back from that, and then SG3 is heading out to PX9, 712, and I was just pulling numbers out of my ass.
I did never know this.
Yeah, but hang on. Just before we shoot, and I'm not kidding you, this is not a word of a lie. Just before we shoot, the script supervisor comes up to me and goes, Gary, are you aware that you've been saying different planets every time? And I go, yeah, I am. I know. And she goes, well, no, you have to say the planets. You have to say it as written. And I go, yeah, but I'm just talking about the planets. It's like, why do I have to memorize them? And she goes, because we go there. She goes, because we go there. And I look at her and I go, oh my God. And now and I have to look at my sides again, and I have to memorize them in about 30 seconds. And I managed to pull it off. David, don't ask me how I did it. I did it, but I was just dying. I'd wasted all this time. I could have been like memorizing as we're talking, because when you're rehearsing just for blocking, I could be looking at my script like this and just whatever, Jack, TX3, 912, whatever. No, I knew the words around them, but I just made up the planets.
You forced them in, and they came back out. You just had to do it. So
I had to do it, and that's what happens when you're doing technical jargon like that on a show like that. Do you have any questions from fans?
We do. I'm going to get to them in just a second here. Did you see the feature film in the theaters?
You mean the original?
The original film.
With Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, James Spader.
Yeah, I did.
What was your impression of it?
I thought it was okay.
Okay.
I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. I mean, I remember Kurt Russell's buzz cut, his flat top.
That's true.
And I really liked James Spader. He was like, I thought the show was like perfectly cast. And I thought it was an interesting concept. But for me back then, sci-fi wasn't really my thing. I mean, that was one of the things, that was one of the films that everybody saw because it was one of the films that was out. And when we were improvising, they would yell Stargate, and we'd sort of have to do something around Stargate. It was one of the films that was like in the cinemas.
Yeah, it was in the public consciousness at the time. So you went for research as much as entertainment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So when my agent called me up and said, "Hey, they're making a series out of Stargate. Have you seen the film?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I've seen the film. I know the film." And then I think I rented it. I think at that point then it was like I went to Blockbuster and I literally rented it on VHS, and watched it a bunch of times. And
the gal reading all the numbers.
No, there was a character in there that they were loosely basing this technician on. Was a guy, kind of like an Air Force guy, but he was sort of like a freelance computer guy, and he was like in a Hawaiian shirt, and so there was this whole
pencil in his mouth, yeah,
and he wasn't really a military guy, but he knew computers, and they said he's a technician, so have a look at that character and just sort of. So when I went into audition for them, I just made it a comedic read, because I thought, well, you know, I think they said something like, he doesn't really, the Air Force needs him more than he needs the Air Force. That was the sort of character description of this guy, and I thought, oh, okay, so he doesn't really give a shit. He's like, whatever, you could fire me, I don't care, I'll get a job somewhere else, whatever. You have to listen to me. So I went in with a kind of like that kind of attitude, like, yeah, whatever.
And you'd already known the director at this point, Mario Azzopardi.
Yeah, but I didn't know that until I literally walked into the room. As soon as they opened the door and Mario's there, and he sees me because he's just finished, about a month prior, he had directed an episode of Outer Limits with me as a ballistics expert.
Got it.
And that was all technical jargon. And I had to come in and give like a rapid fire ballistics report. And so I was able to pull that off, which made his job easier, And so when he sees me, he goes, "Oh, Chief, it's you! Oh my God, you're gonna be perfect!" And so, I thought, "Oh, great, I'm gonna have fun with this." And I made it into a big comedy thing. And Brad Wright and Michael Greenberg were just like tears rolling down their eyes, laughing. And when I was leaving the audition, Mario walks me to the door, and I said, so, hey, it's great. That was good. Trying to get some feedback or a sense of how I'd done. And he goes, "Oh, Chief, that was great. That was great. But, not that big." In other words, you'd been like a little over the top.
Tone it down.
and then he closed the door, and I'm just standing there going, "No!" Like I thought I'd totally blown it.
Yeah.
And then I got a call back, and I was the only person called back. And I just had to tone it down, and I got the job. So that's how come I got into Stargate.
Wow. Super
fun ride.
I do have some fan questions here for you.
Oh, please, I want to answer them.
Nathan says, did you ever get bored doing the same thing every episode, essentially?
Well, Nathan, yeah, there was a... Yeah, I mean, there was a level of boredom, but that's only because, the joke in the business is, how do you get an actor to complain? Give him a job. That's a standard acting joke. It's because every actor will find something to bitch about, even when they're on like a great show, long running and everything. So at some point I would be like, oh God, I wish I could kind of do more stuff. But then I would just get pulled back into reality and go, I got to be grateful for this fantastic gig that I have. And I would sort of like put those feelings of boredom more, aside. Because I think boredom can lead to ingratitude, and I was definitely not ungrateful. I was very, very grateful. So, I mean, that surfaced a little bit, but towards the end of it, like in the run of the show, they had me firing machine guns. I went off world. I did all sorts of stuff.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.